Hello, another episode with another dynamic goal getter. Today, I get the opportunity to talk with Miss Lanada Chanel Duncan. Welcome, Lanada.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, you have a real exciting business that I would like for you to share with the audience. So, first off, let's talk by just sharing the name of your business and what exactly you do.
Okay, sure. Well, the name of my business is BE Decor's Interiors. We are a full service interior design firm located here in Roswell, Georgia. However,
Mhm.
we service clients throughout Georgia, the metro Atlanta area, and beyond, we say. So we basically, we're all about the cozy. And by that, I mean that we are all about infusing cozy into a living space, going into our home and helping our clients live better, feel better, live well within their home and their living spaces. And therefore, we feel like that carries out into their regular day to day lives. We like to basically say that we can influence the way people live and
Right.
experience wellness based on interior design and what we do in their living space. And so we offer, as I said, full service interior design. That means start to finish so that it's turnkey and that we are involved from the planning process on all the way through reveal day and then beyond, because we like to be able to come back and help you enjoy maybe another space in your home or your second home or your third home or your children's home and things like that. And so we hope that that relationship that we build with our client does not end with the reveal process, basically. But we also offer consultation services. So for those that feel like they want to be a little bit more hands-on or do some DIY projects, but they need some guidance throughout the process,
Mhm.
or just someone who wants assistance picking out art or picking out furniture, or their own personal stylist or home designer for the day. Our consultation services are perfect for something like that. And then we offer digital services where we do mood boards, 3D renderings, illustrations, creations to help you see the actual visual process of your project, and then you can take it from there. So, three kind of different types of design services. We like to say that we're a boutique design firm, so that
Mhm.
you can kind of customize it according to your needs.
I love that because, so many of us have been spending a lot more time at home, whether it's working from home, and really
Absolutely.
making sure that space allows for us to feel well and
Yeah.
enjoy it, even though we're not physically in the office, the time we spend, I am guilty in my home office. Sometimes it's like,
Oh, me too.
that's a lot of time.
That becomes our main home living space, so to speak. Yeah, our office spaces. And that's the way it
Totally.
is for so many people because I mean, after COVID, so many of us
Yeah.
got stuck into working. I should say stuck in some respects, but I love working from home and I love working in my office space.
Yeah,
But that became kind of our main go-to. We spend more hours in that area of our home than probably any other area. So you're not alone,
definitely, definitely.
which is why those spaces too should not be forgotten.
Indeed, indeed. So talk to me about how you got started with your business. I wanna know a little bit of the backstory because I've been
Mm,
following you now on social media for about 2 or 3 years now, but I wanna know the backstory, how you got started.
okay. Sure. So I've always loved interior design. So that's kind of been my heart, my passion. I
Mhm.
like to be able to influence the way that people live and dwell in their home spaces. And so I've had a knack for kind of being able to maximize the dollar and go on a hunt and find, kind of source for good things that'll look pretty in our home spaces. So that was
Yeah.
something that I kind of brought from maybe even childhood, I guess. I would change my room around all the
Mhm.
time. My sister and I, when we lived together. We'd always change our apartments around. So that was kind of like, I guess, where the passion started.
Mhm.
I loved looking at different paint colors and wallpapers and seeing what kind of went together and maybe infusing like fashion into a room space. So that was always, I guess, some kind of heartfelt desire of mine, I guess,
Yeah.
some way to be in the design world. I didn't really know how. But I went to school for journalism and management. And so literally my career choices took me in that direction
Okay.
to where I spent years in the medical management field, administrative management field. And so I did that for years as my
Mhm.
career. But friends would ask me to do some things around their home. I would always, again, change things around my home. My husband, I was driving him crazy because nothing always stayed the same or whatever. So, I think at some point I decided that I wanted to kind of move that passion into, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So in some
Yeah.
kind of way, form or fashion, I knew I was going to have my own business. I mean, I've had my own PR business and public relations at one time or another. And so, I'd say about 9 years ago, about 9 or 10 years ago, I kind of took that in a different direction, though, as far as stepping into a business. I opened up a boot, kind of like in a lot of these antique decor stores. I opened up a
Yeah.
booth where I would sell home decor and furnishings, and so I had a little booth there here in Roswell on Canton Street, and I did that for about a year and a half to 2 years, and it was great, but there were times, of course, after the holidays when things would slow down and
Mhm.
it felt different. So I didn't feel like I was really kind of using all the skills that I wanted to use or getting into design the way I wanted to. And so I decided to shift those funds for one thing into another area. I really wanted to be in the home styling homes.
Okay.
So I was working full time. Make a long story short, I've been in the company for some years, still doing management, running to the booth, trying to keep my booth full and things like that. But again, my passion was in being in the home and styling home spaces. I just decided that I wanted to pivot. So I started on a part time basis,
Mhm.
styling homes, getting referrals here and there from clients, and doing things on a smaller level. And then about 3 years ago, the company that I worked for did layoffs, and I was one of those layoffs due to the pandemic. And so I was offered the opportunity to shift and do something different within the same company. It was the hospital system, so they would find me something else, so to speak, in management. And me not knowing what that would be, of course, or if I'd be happy and having clients on the side, but not fully feeling like I could invest fully into myself by doing it part time, but really having the passion to want to invest in myself.
I love it.
I chose not to do that. I didn't want to wonder what the next role was going to be and what it was going to be like for me to still have to work part time and only do my business part time. So I said, no, thank you. And I decided to invest in myself. I just needed my husband's support and okay. And once he gave me that, I ran with it. It was great. I don't look back. They did me a favor. It has been a blessing, and I'm so glad I did invest in myself and go full time into my business. It has paid off in so many ways.
I
Yeah,
love that. I'm so glad you shared that with me
yeah,
because
mm,
so many of my listeners are right at that point, right?
mm,
Where they are ready to make that change, but
right.
not sure. They don't know if, stepping out and taking such a risk is something that they could do, but they
Mhm.
so desire it. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that because there's someone listening that will be encouraged based on what you just shared.
I hope so. I hope so. It was a
Definitely.
big step, I have to say. I wasn't fully financially ready, in all
Mhm.
honesty. I kept saying, when I get to this, I'm going to
Mhm.
do this, and I'm going to just tell my husband I'm ready to do it or whatever. And it was always this goal I kept setting for myself, but struggling to reach it for different reasons, or
Yeah.
one way and another, not putting my all into it. And so when this happened, I had to make the decision that this was the chance and the opportunity I needed. You just can't look back. Sometimes all the pieces won't be in the puzzle. In all
Yeah. Yeah.
honesty, I
Yeah.
know there are people that say, have 6 to 8 months saved, and that is a very good financial decision and choice to make. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong at all. It didn't work that way for me,
Yeah.
you know, and I was put in a position where I had to choose at that time. And I know that had I chose the other direction, I'd still be wondering what it would be like, to be full time and work for myself. Mhm.
That's it. I love it. So let's fast forward now because you just had an amazing show that
Mhm.
I want you to tell us about. I was seeing some of the pictures that you had put up, and I saw some video from some other people that were sharing your work. So tell me a little about that opportunity and how it came
Yeah.
about.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for letting me share that. So, through the networking and things that I've been able to do and do more of now that I do full time and work for myself, I've really had to kind of get back out there and
Mhm.
spend more time getting to know people.
Yes.
In this industry, it's really important to do that, especially in Atlanta. It's very important to do that. And someone told me before, Lanada, in Atlanta, you can be good and you are good, but it is who you know. And I
Yes.
didn't know you, and that was the problem. And he was right. That
Mm.
same person called me and asked me to be a part of a show home space.
Okay.
And I didn't internally really fully feel like I wanted to do it this year or was ready to do
Okay.
it this year. But again, I'm faced with an opportunity to take that next big step. And I
Yeah.
knew that this was that opportunity. Inside, I was like screaming, absolutely. But I knew that it might not come again. They may not ask again, and this is your chance. You need to take it. So I said yes. I would agree to being a designer, one of 15 designers in the Metro Atlanta area, to style a show house room space at the Serenbe Designer Show House for this
Okay.
year. And Serenbe is an absolutely wonderful community
Yes.
outside of Atlanta, Georgia. It's about 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. It's in an area called Palmetto, Georgia,
Mhm.
Chattahoochee Hills to be exact. It's a sustainable community, so everything's kind of farm to table,
Yeah.
which I love the idea of the sustainability. Again, my business being in wellness design, we are
Mhm.
firm, I guess, advocates of biophilic um, um, design, which is
Okay.
basically incorporating things from nature, incorporating the things that the human mind and soul body needs to be and live well. And so Serenbe is one of those places that connects to that design and that idea. So this was a perfect opportunity for me for the first one. This is my first time,
Love
and it couldn't have
it.
been in a better place, than Serenbe. And so I'm just completely honored to have been a part of it. My space was an outdoor covered space.
Mhm.
Again, another thing that to me fell in place because it's outdoor living. And I'm a firm believer that our outdoor really, we should bring our indoors outdoor, and our outdoor can't be forgotten either. So those patio spaces, those porches,
Yeah.
those are extended areas of our living space. And if COVID taught us nothing else, is that we need to use and incorporate all of these areas too into our daily lives, because they could make a huge difference in how we live and feel on a day-to-day basis. And so
Yes.
yeah, it was an outdoor living space. It was a terrace porch in house number one, and it was just phenomenal. And I'm so happy with the responses that I got, which made a huge difference. It made me feel good to know um, that other people connected with that idea. So it was a space that people would come to and just take a moment to just
Yeah.
exhale. And they would just sit there and look around at the nature and everything and just say, I don't want to leave. It was just so tranquil. And we kept telling him, well, that's the idea. We don't want you to sit, take a moment, because we forget to take moments. Sometimes we forget to just breathe.
That
Just,
is so true. So you had this beautiful piece that you have to talk to me about that was, I felt like kind of just tied everything together that you had. So can you share with us that piece you had with the beautiful woman
oh,
there? Yeah.
yeah. that piece, a good friend of mine that I worked with years ago, his name's
Mhm.
Cornelius.
Mhm.
He's an artist, always
Yeah.
had been a wonderful, amazing artist, extremely talented. But Cornelius is now national renowned, international renowned artist for some other work that he did. So James Lewis, he goes by James Lewis. But his company is Noir 3000 in 3K
Okay.
Studios. And he does photography work, but he, again, is an artist of all trades. And
Yes.
so he can do just about anything. Let me just say that
I
first.
love
But I
it.
called him up when I knew I was going to do this space. And I said, Cornelius, I have to have one of your pieces in my space. So that
I
was
love
just
it.
immediate day one decided. I commissioned him to do a particular style of work. So I wanted something that kind of had an image of a queen. I
Yes.
wanted the space to feel feminine and strong, um, like a queen taking a moment for
Ooh,
herself. And so I gave him the design idea of what I wanted. He staged this photo session in his photography studio. I wanted it to be an African American woman because that was
yes.
important to me as well. And and I wanted there to be some nature in this because again, I wanted to pull in the nature around Serenbe. The idea of nature is important. I love birds.
Yes.
That's the reason I have this crazy inclination towards a bird. So we always put a bird of some kind of sort or somewhere represented in our work that we do. There's a bird somewhere.
I love it.
Most of the time the client allows and they don't mind that too. So that
Mhm.
always works great, but we try and hide a bird somewhere. So anyway, I knew I wanted birds in this represented somewhere in this, or several places in this
Mhm.
space. He staged the session and did this woman laying on kind of like a lounger. The
Mhm.
colors were just perfect. Her makeup is just beautiful. She's holding a ball in her hand that looks kind of like she holds the world in her hand in a way. And when he sent it to me, it didn't have a bird, but I told him, I said, oh, don't forget, I need a bird somewhere. He's like, okay, no problem. And so he digitized and added a bird, two
I
birds
love
of
it.
certain colors that had this fuchsia in it, and her lips had fuchsia in it. And the picture was just absolutely beautiful. However, when it was sent to me, it wasn't large enough. And so we had to increase the size because the
Mhm.
wall that we were putting this on was like I don't know, like a 120 by, it was a 14-foot wall. So it was
Wow.
huge.
Yeah.
And so we had to enlarge it. So I call him and I'm saying, we need to come up with a way to do this. And he's like, no problem. So what we decided to do was to plant her on a large piece of wood,
Mhm.
basically, and put fabric around it, and then ruche fabric around the
Wow.
picture itself. So
Mhm.
I picked this color of green, lime kind of green that was just beautiful, and it's on a velvet, which added to it the texture of that fabric. And at the last minute, he looks at me when we were going to put green all the way around it and said, we should add another color. He had bought some fuchsia for something else. And then so
Mhm.
we decided to add the fuchsia to bring out her lips and to bring out the bird colors. And I'm so glad we did. The picture was stunning. We literally danced around this picture because it took us all day to fix this thing, literally all day. And we had a dance around it and we felt really good about her. But she was the showstopper. I call her she,
Yes.
or her, because it is all about her queendom and her moment. And so
Mhm.
she sat center stage in the space, and everyone that came out was everyone in awe of her. And she commanded the space, which
Yeah.
is what I wanted her to do. But the colors from her, that piece, were bounced around the space, and it just added to the entire feel and vibe of it all. But people felt the hierarchy of that moment and
Yeah.
the balance of that feminine, tranquil space, because we had a waterfall that sat in the opposite corner that
Mhm.
trickled the water down to add to the sound. I wanted to incorporate something that would stimulate all of the senses of the human mind and body. And so we did that with that space. And that's why I'm really
You
proud of it.
you did a phenomenal
Thank
job,
you. Thank
and I remember seeing you guys dancing around,
you.
and I
We were
remember you
exhausted. It was one
writing.
o'clock in the morning.
That's what you said, and you still had energy to move around after doing that.
Barely. Barely. It was 1 o'clock, so I had to get home, but we had to celebrate the moment because, yeah, it was a moment of almost panic to celebration within the
Well,
day's time.
isn't that how life is?
Yes.
It's I love that you talk about for you, things didn't go the way, a cookie cutter way that we're told, from our all these gurus that know everything, right? It doesn't always go the way that
Right, right.
everyone else will tell you, but that doesn't mean that it isn't just perfect for you.
Absolutely.
The opportunities that have been afforded to you because you chose to believe in yourself and
Mhm.
to take those risks. So I love that you have experienced that and we can see that based on what you shared. So that to me is just so cool.
Thank you.
So let's talk about how does our environment affect our ability to be well?
Mhm.
You talk a lot about, creating that space. So how does our environment, specifically in our homes, how does that affect us to be able to be well?
Mhm. Well, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. I realize that some people live in environments where it could be really difficult to relax their mind, their body,
Mhm,
their spirit, so to speak. And
mhm,
so, for that, we know there requires other things that need to take place within the home in order for them to be able to be and live well and exist. And so,
mhm,
always, of course, in constant prayer for people that I know that have those types of situations. But for what we can influence
mhm,
within our living space, I think it has an enormous ability to, direct and influence, so to speak, how we not just exist within our homes, but outside of our homes. And so I think that, again, one thing I try to always do is incorporate all the senses. So when we look
mhm,
at what we're looking at throughout our home, just walking into your home in general, of course, I always tell people we have to attack the immediate.
mhm.
When we live in our home spaces, it's very easily, of course, we know to accumulate clutter. And
Yes,
sometimes we don't know how much clutter we have accumulated until it's time to move out of that
yes.
home. And you have so much to move.
Yeah.
You probably haven't used or done anything within years anyway. So, why it's good to purge it on an annual basis, if not more than that. There
Okay.
are some people who say, I don't bring anything in that's not functional or we don't use, or if you
Mhm.
haven't used it, we chunk it over a certain amount of months.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the beginning of the year, I always hold these, or I've started holding these kind of webinars that talk about refreshing our home spaces. And that's
Mhm,
because we should give our home this annual refresh, which is important because when we live amongst clutter on the outside, we
mm,
tend to incorporate that on the inside a lot. And so it's clutter on the outside many times leads to clutter on the inside.
okay.
And when we are cluttered on the inside, it comes out in different ways of
Yes.
our daily days. So I would first say the foundational is to address the clutter in our lives. And again,
Okay.
that clutter can be in different ways, forms, and fashions.
Mhm,
But also in the physical would be the colors that we have in our home. They really do impact how we feel in a space. Color impacts our psyche, and our
okay.
minds. And so how we feel, our emotions, color impacts that. So when we are constantly trying to, um, you know, eat and say like a room that's red or that's a high vibrant orange or certain colors, then it encourages you to kind of keep eating sometimes and to
Oh,
keep doing certain things. Blues the same ways in our kitchen. So
wow.
sometimes it's important to know how color influences how we our emotions and how we feel and
Yeah,
how that influences how we act so that we can
interesting.
incorporate the right colors into our living space. If we need a space that we can relax in, then you
Mhm,
really want to look at colors that help you feel relaxed. So tranquil
okay.
colors that will help you do that. And that's different for everyone. Some of us
Mhm,
like to feel warm and enclosed, and so the darker, moody colors really make us feel good. But some of us makes us feel claustrophobic, and
mhm,
so maybe with the lighter, tranquil colors. So, um, It can have a huge influence, even our color, but then our senses too makes our other senses. So maybe smells.
Hmm.
Maybe we really want to have candles or aromatherapy items around our home that really
Yeah.
helps us relax more in our bedrooms and in our workspaces. Even certain
Yeah.
types of scents are important in our workspaces. So we have to discover what those things are so that we can incorporate them in our living spaces. So and then sounds, of course, same thing, same thing.
Hmm.
I constantly have either ocean sounds or chirping or different sounds around my space, depending on the mood that I'm feeling for that day, because I need for it to do something and to work within the scents and everything else around me too. So
Nice.
I hope that answers it. That's kind of
That
it.
that does.
Mhm.
That does. That does. Because like I said before, as we're spending so much time at home, I actually do have my humidifier behind me here to the left.
Yeah.
And so I need to put it on. I haven't put it on today.
Yeah.
So you
Same here.
actually have to use
And I
it, right?
haven't even to, but I need to do that. And part of it is because I know I'm going to need a certain scent. I got some stuff I need to kind of kick out real quick. And
Yeah.
sometimes my scents, depending on which ones I'm using, will help me
Mhm.
relax. But I need to put the right ones on. It kind of give me some energy.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. I love it. So let's talk about some things that we can do daily to help us enjoy the space we're in. If it's like you just said, to take the time to figure out which essential oil you want to put in to give
Mhm,
you that
mhm.
peace. What are some things that you use to kind of just make sure you are ushering in that wellness that you desire? I just something as simple as, maybe like I've been starting to a sorority sister gave me a plant, and so I've been talking to this plant like, okay, you have to do well
Yes.
because when she comes to visit, she needs to see you thriving.
Right. I need to do that because I have kill cacti. So I need to talk to those. That's a good one. Thank you. Oh my. Well, a really simple one, and this
Hmm.
is really simple, but
Yeah.
as humans, I can't understand why sometimes I go into certain people's home and we forget to do something really to me that's simple. And again, because there are other things that live within our temples that
Yeah.
sometimes come out in how we live within our homes.
Mm.
And I get that. But when I started B Decors, a lot of my branding talked about peace. Let me just say this before I give that answer: peace.
Hmm.
And so creating peaceful spaces, I would say that a lot.
Yeah.
But that peace is challenging when you don't have peace within. It's
Mm.
challenging to create peace out here.
Yeah.
And again, I get that. So that sometimes we have to deal with a deeper foundational thing, right? But this does help when we start incorporating things on the outside. But the thing that I noticed that sometimes is simple that people don't do is just open up your windows and blinds. When I walk into a room or get up in the morning,
Yeah.
you can ask my husband, the first thing I'm doing is I'm walking around the house and I'm opening all the blinds. I don't
Yeah.
care what it looks like outside. I want
Yeah.
everything open because I need to let in some natural light. I
Yes.
need to feel like happy. I need to, as much as I can, that the natural light can affect or impact. So
Yeah.
I'm pushing up my shades. I'm opening up the blinds. I'm opening, curtains if they're drawn or whatever. I get it at night. You kind of want those things to they make you feel more secure or whatever, but open your
Hmm.
windows and let in some natural light
Yes.
because that is important and we need that affects our health. Vitamin D
Yes.
is important to
Yes.
our bodies and our skin. And so,
Totally.
just something simple is just open your windows. Let some natural light in. That's the first
Yeah.
thing we can do in the day to start impacting our mood. And
I love
so,
it.
mhm.
And you are so correct.
Yeah.
I don't care what the temperature is. I do like to have that natural light, and it really does
Mhm.
help kind of elevate my energy. So I
Absolutely.
totally agree.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of products you can get now to help you filter the amount of light that you want in your space. So there are light filtering options for shades and
Mhm.
all that if you don't want a ton of it in or
Yeah.
the glares on your computer screen or whatever
Mhm.
in your workspace. But that's why I like to work with companies also to kind of help them incorporate things into the workspace, because
Nice.
when you create a work environment that is conducive to wellness, or wellness living as well, you have happier staff and employees that are well and
Hmm.
feel well and want to do well in their jobs. So it helps them be more productive too. I believe that firmly.
I love that. I love that. So thank you so much. But before I
Thank
let you
you.
go, you have to talk to us about how we can have our husbands and partners agree with us getting a she cave. You got to give us a tea.
Pray. Good luck.
I will pray.
Pray. I was kidding. You know, I think what's important is the long term. So they got to see the outcome of that.
Okay.
When you feel better, when we all feel better, we do better, right?
Yes.
When we all can live better and have a retreat space. First of all, we all need a break from each other sometime. That's just reality,
Amen.
right?
Amen.
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 And so, he would talk about his she cave all the time, and I'd say, okay, fine. But and at one point, I was like, my son moved out of the house. That's a way too of keeping them from coming back. You change that room around. But I immediately went and, and I switched the room up and said, I'm gonna have a she cave. And I tell people, she caves are inside, she sheds are outside. So
Okay.
if it's an external, you got to leave your house and leave your door, and then you go to a shed or whatever. That's a she shed. She cave
Yes.
is something you create. This is my definition,
I
inside of your
love it.
home. If it's raining or storming or cold, I don't want to have to leave the house. I want
Thank
something inside
you.
the house. So she cave is what I created in the space. And so it has helped us miss each other during COVID. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. My she cave was my everything. Everything. Saturdays, 3 o'clock, I get in the she cave, turn the Zoom on. My sister would be in South Carolina, and Jazzy Jeff came on at 3 o'clock to keep us all mentally and jammed for like 2 hours. We get the Appletinis going, and we would put music on,
Yes.
and we was dancing, and it was my party time, 3 to 5 on Saturdays during COVID, the entire
I
time. But
love
my sister,
it.
that was our time. So it just gave me an escape, to where I could recreate just moments of relaxation and whatever I want to do. Read. Sometimes I just kick back, take a nap. Sometimes I pray. I have my fireplace in here, and I put my
Yeah.
own Christmas tree in here.
I
So
love it.
it has made me, our times when we come back. So at 7 o'clock, we watch the news together. I go down. I know, shut it down. I'm going downstairs for an hour, and that's our time. We have dinner or whatever. So it helps us miss each other.
I
That's the way
love
to
it.
sell it.
Yeah.
It gives us both a break. He goes to his man cave sometimes Sunday afternoon. That's how he wants to wind down and get ready for his week, And so I go to my she cave, and it just helps you be a better person.
I
It
love
really
it.
does. And that's a way to sell it to him. Get him to know that I want to be a better person for you, for us.
Lanada told me that's what you do. So, ladies, that's what we do.
That's what
I
you
ooh, I'm excited.
guarantee. Most important, if you say I want to be a better person, and you need a break. So get him to find a space, and you find a space. I don't care if it's
Yes.
a closet under the stairwell,
Yeah.
and it's a
Yeah.
prayer room for you. Whatever
Yeah.
it is, however big, however small, get your retreat space. It works wonders in your life. I mean that.
I'm on it. You gave me some good tools. I'm so grateful we got this
Thank you,
opportunity to
Sandra.
talk.
Glad I got to talk to you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.